Australia has been in a depression since 2008. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I have my stein of coffee, and I was relaxing, watching a video from a great YouTube channel called Real Vision Finance, and I'd recommend it to anyone who's interested in a lot of the things I'm discussing. I'm sure most viewers already know it. And this was a video just released recently, and in that video, it's an interview with Jim Rickards, and he's discussing the Keynesian definition of a depression, where it's not worse than a recession. It's his argument is, or that he's drawing from Keynes, that it's not a double plus bad recession, but it is a sustained long-term period of below trend growth. And he showed this graph here on the United States from 2008 moving forward, just the period, the difference with the compound interest between the growth they actually had, even though they're still growing, and the growth they could have had if they stayed on trend. And that shows you their economy has been depressed for a long period of time. So I thought I would dust off my completely outdated Excel skills and have a bit of a play with some of the data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics with regard to our GDP, and to try and figure out what our actual growth versus the trend growth could be, what the difference would be over from, say, 2008. Because, frankly, I don't think we've ever recovered since then. And you'd be shocked if you were to find out. Well, you will be shocked. Let me know in the comments if you think. Do you think I'm making a bold claim here that our economy has been depressed since then or not? And I will have a stein while you leave your comments down below. It's good coffee. I don't drink too much. 1.5 liters per day of coffee spread out over an 18-hour period. I'm sure that's fine. So what I got here is I got the data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the Australian National Accounts, income, expenditure, and product. And I have not played in Excel much, to be honest, in a long time, because I'm an architect. We hardly use it. I use BIM Rivet modeling, so all of the data that I used to do in Excel is in there, and I'm playing with it more and more, but forgive me when you see my sloppy graphs. So here is the data that we've got. And there's two bits of data that I was interested in. Primarily, the GDP per capita chain volume measure percentage changes. Okay, and I looked at the data we've got that data from 1973, December. That's when they started measuring that. And it's every quarter, and it goes all the way to now. And then you've got the other data here, which is just GDP, gross domestic product, chain volume measured percentage changes. And that's all the way back from, when is it? 59. So let's have a look at, this is the data from 1973. This is all the per capita GDP data. You can see here, this black line running across here, this is the trend line. Now, the average of that trend, and I've done it using a linear methodology to derive the trend. The average is about 0.4 per quarter. Here, the zero line is down here at the bottom of my chart. The zero axis is there. So this is when we've entered technical recessions. You got 73, boom, 77, 81, got 85. So it's all when it's heading down. I mean, there you go. The recession Australia had to have. And you get 1 quarter with it down, and then it would shoot up, and 1 or 2 quarters with it down, and then it would shoot up. Now, what interests me is from 2008 here. So you can see here, it was trending down. We actually hit below zero. Still below trend. We shot up to 0.4, which is trend. So that was trend. So we're below. We shot up. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 data points above trend. And that was from 2011, 2012. I would say that would have a lot to do with the mining boom. From my own personal experience, that's when we did most of our mining work back then, 2011. We were just insanely flat out busy with all the mining work. And then, it shot down again, and we had two quarters of 0% growth. Then another 2 on trend, below trend, 2 on trend, below trend. And then up to now, we're below trend. Once again. So it's not looking that good. And if we look at the average over this period of time, the average with all the ups and downs, it averages to about 0.2, which is half the actual trend. And this example here that Jim referred to in his video, and I'll put a link to it in the pinned comment below on my references on the blog that I'll link to it. It was, a $5 trillion loss over that period. And he went all the way back to 1999. I'm picking 2008 because well, that's when the GFC had, and everyone said Australia has recovered. We wore out, we lived out the GFC, but our economic growth has been depressed since then. We've barely gone over 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters over trend. All the rest have either been at trend or below. So that's the Keynesian, John Maynard Keynes. That's his definition. What's this? Oh, my Sun app. I'll turn that down. John Maynard Keynes. That's his definition of a sustained long-term period of growth below trend. And we are at below trend for that period. I mean, no one could argue it. I've extended the trend here. It's going to keep going. Do you think we're going to head up? It's not looking good. I was mentioning this to Rachel before I wanted to make this video, and she said, yeah, that feels very intuitive with the way that everything is going. That our economic growth has been depressed since 2008. And we've had stimulus has just been in the property sector, but it's overheated. And now people are pinning all the hopes that it'll go up again. But it's, what is it? What's the infrastructure that we're building? Is it productive investment? Are we going to get something long-term off it? If it was infrastructure like a dam that could hopefully maybe address some of the bushfire issues or provide water to grow the economy, or if it was, power generation that isn't the most expensive in the world, that would be useful investment. Roads has going to give us a bang for a buck over the long term. We can't afford to drive anymore. Or if we get these stupid electric cars that have got no range for a continent. So let's have a look. I did another one here, another chart. So this is my mad Excel skills. So what I did is I just set value of 100 at March 2008, and I looked at the blue line is the trend. This is the compounding interest, the return on interest, essentially. 1 quarter compounds on another, and that was trend. And of course, they're not all at 0.4. They're going to be up and down, but this would roughly average it out. This here is the average. I did it with the actual, and the difference was insignificant. So that gave me confidence that using the 0.4 made sense. And you can see that just from 2008 to now in 2019, there is about a 10% difference in the GDP. And this is per capita basis. So our per capita GDP has been going, it's been going negative, or declining. But you can see here the difference. This here, all of this gap, this wedge here between the trend and the average, which is pretty much the actual, that is lost GDP of our nation over the last decade. Lost potential, lost productivity, lost capacity that's never existed. And then we need to think about what we actually achieved, where this money was invested, how much of it has gone into apartments that are they really productive in the long run? Sure, they're accommodation for people, but they're not producing anything long-term for the economy. And half of them have got serious issues. So, that's my attempts at Excel, guys. Forgive me, I'm an architect. I tried to make a Facebook group, architects who were good at Excel. My wife didn't even join. So that will tell you, that'll tell you how much we use it in my profession. But I thought that was quite striking, and I wanted to look at that. I was inspired to look at it for Australia. So you can just see, I mean, what I'll do is we'll just select all of the data here. This is not per capita, but here we go. The average over this entire period from 53 to now was 0.8, but we'll look at the average for total GDP. Now, per capita from 2008 was at 0.6. So there you go. Even since 2008, regardless of, per capita, we're ignoring that, we're still below trend. The average is below trend since 2008. Per capita, it makes it even worse. But there you go, guys. There you go. And I'm actually reading a number that you can't see. It's where my picture is down there. That works out the average for you. So I thought I'd produce this. I'll upload this file for my patrons if they want to have access to it. I need to give you some perks, guys. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you think. Does this surprise you? Are you surprised the politicians aren't talking about it? Does this feel like strong, robust? The more I look into this, the more cynical I am of either side of politics claiming they can manage the economy. I just want some libertarians in there to do nothing, frankly. Let's do nothing for 5 years and see what happens, or step back. Or maybe a challenge every year, they got to reduce the tax. Something. Because this ain't working. That's lost. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. And if you like this type of stuff, please let me know in the comments, because then I may actually do some tutorials on how to do things in Excel. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Take care.